Imagination plants the inconceivable in our minds and makes our hearts long for it to be true. Would you say that with me? These words by Hannah Mitchell. Imagination plants the inconceivable in our minds and makes our hearts long for it to be true. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno exists today because 136 years ago, some people in this city imagined a church in the Central Valley that would declare every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Some people here in the valley imagined a spiritual path that would allow each person to set forth on a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Our congregation was first founded on October 27th, 1889, 4 years after Fresno became incorporated as a city. So this church has been part of Fresno since the beginning, one of its earliest congregations. It began as an ethical culture community created by free-thinking Fresnans seeking a religious home that focused on ethical living rather than dogma and damnation. This notebook from 1889 includes a written first-hand account of that inaugural gathering and the names of this congregation's first members. 1889. Can I hear it? 2 months after that first meeting, Unitarian Julia Ward Howe, the great abolitionist and suffragette and composer of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, came to Fresno to speak to these same church members and to offer her encouragement and her blessing to this Fresno congregation. Some 15 years later, Fresno newspaper publisher and mayor Dr. Chester Rowell donated land at Tuolumne and O Streets for a church building that was completed in 1910 with seating for 450 people. The bond of fellowship that bound them together as a Unitarian church stated, "We associate ourselves together to upbuild in the hearts of the people the high ideals of a rational, progressive, and exalting religion of character." 1910. Oh, we got to say this together. We associate ourselves together to upbuild in the hearts of the people the high ideals of a rational, progressive, and exalting religion of character. A Unitarian dignity from Boston, present for the church's building dedication, described the congregation's new building as, quote, "a barn." The barniest barn on the West Coast. End of quote. This congregation had the reputation for being cantankerous and prone to internal disagreement, but unflinching in its fierce commitment to liberal values in the conservative valley. Financial hardship caused the congregation to stop meeting briefly during the beginning of the Great Depression. They regrouped, then dissolved completely in the mid-1930s. For almost 20 years, Fresno, the heart of California's Bible Belt, had no progressive religious church. As J. Harold Berkey, a Central High School teacher, bemoaned, quote, "This town is overrun with the most reactionary types of religion. If I ever saw a spot which needed a church with a sensible belief system and programs, it was Fresno." End of quote. In 1953, Kay Lashbrook put an ad in the Fresno Bee that read, "Come if you believe in the sisterhood and brotherhood of all, the compatibility of religious and scientific truth, and the responsibility of humanity for its destiny." At a time when government loyalty oaths were being called for in most churches in Fresno, government loyalty oaths, a few people, yes, boo, you can boo and hiss. A few people answered that ad and started meeting at the YWCA on M Street. They wanted a community where they could share their humanist beliefs and values. They wanted liberal religious education for their children. They wanted a unified voice to speak out against McCarthyism and for the Bill of Rights. Within a year, there were 30 members, and they were meeting at Temple Beth Israel. In 1960, the congregation's public stance against conservative Christianity being pushed in the public schools led to some church members being reviled at work and harassed at home. Linda Mack's laughing because she was one of those who received those threatening phone calls. We'll hear from Linda in just a bit. In 1961, the church's 170 members voted to purchase property on Millbrook Avenue, which in 1962 became home to the beloved brown wooden church building. Some 40 years after that, the congregation purchased land on Alluvial Avenue and constructed this beautiful campus, our beautiful campus. This campus opened its doors 17 years ago in August of 2008. Some here this morning are among those who first imagined this place and worked to make their dream come true. If you were part of that group that built this campus, would you stand for just a moment for our appreciation? A church as vibrant and as vital to its city as this one isn't formed or sustained by accident. It takes intention, dedication, and a willingness to commit one's heart, mind, and resources for the long haul. It is my pleasure to welcome to the pulpit former City Council member and member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno for 68 years, Linda Mack.
Bonjour. If Rich can say aloha, I can say bonjour. And buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. That September in 1957, when we moved from Pennsylvania to Fresno for my husband to join the faculty at Fresno State, it was hot. So on the Saturday afternoon that his department chairman's wife came to pick me up to take me to a faculty wives' tea, I was wearing a sleeveless cotton dress, bare-legged, and sandals. She was dressed to the nines. And she took one look at me, and I'm telling you, if looks could kill, I wouldn't be here standing today. She said, "My dear, we wear hats and gloves to these occasions." Well, my mother had given me a pair of white gloves that I thought so useless they were still in the original packaging. And I had a beret that I wore in the wintertime back east, so I put those on, and off we went. On the way, she told me that she intended to see to it that I met the right people. So there I was, having a perfectly miserable time, taking polite chit-chat to one of her proper old ladies, who asks, "And do you go to church?" "Oh, yes," I said, "I do. I'm a Unitarian." "Well," she said, "you have one foot in hell already then." And she turned and walked away. And I thought to myself, tomorrow morning, I have to find my people. And I did. On the corner of Maple and Balch, in a little white building, there was a sign out front that read, "The Liberal Church, Unitarian Universalist." I had never heard of a Universalist, but inside there were 12 to 14 Unitarians and Universalists, and they welcomed me very well. I was warmly welcomed. They had decided a few years earlier to do church together. Shortly thereafter, I was put to work. For many years, as we outgrew that space and a couple others, we were really a do-it-yourself fellowship calling ourselves a church. At first, many years, we had no paid staff, then a secretary, then a custodian. Against the advice of the leaders in Boston, we raised the money to buy, move, and rehab a church on property that we bought on Millbrook Avenue. During that time, I had many opportunities to serve in different roles: church school teacher, director of the RE program, committee chair, member of the board, planning and conducting worship services, participating in social action, and so forth. I learned many skills, from public speaking to how to tile a floor. I discovered talents I didn't know I had. I made lifelong friends. I explored different spiritual paths, growing and changing as the church grew and changed. Now, I attend both the Sunday services and the weekly UU Buddhist fellowships online, thanks to those who make that possible. I'm glad I mustered the energy to come and be here with you today. It's so good to see all of you. And to those of you whose faces are familiar, thank you for all the love and support I've felt all these years as you've celebrated my successes and consoled me in my times of loss. And to those of you who I don't recognize, and there are a lot of you, goodness, I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for being here and guaranteeing the future of this beloved community, where folks can wear what they please. There are no right people to get to know, and we have both feet on the path to creating heaven here on earth. Namaste.
Take a moment for the applause. Linda Mack, former Fresno City Council member, 68 years. Our longest active member of this congregation, Gay Amen, relocated to the East Coast, where she is quite active in the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, thanks to our online community. She lives in Burlington, Vermont, and from that campus, please welcome, 70 years a member of this congregation, Gay Amen.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Tim and Linda. So, why am I here in Fresno from Vermont? Because you are here. I'm a lifetime member, and you keep our congregation for everyone seeking religious freedom. I remember in 1955, we began a fellowship which became the Liberal Church of Fresno, then the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, 6 buildings and 9 ministers, till now with your vibrant Reverend Tim. Our vision was always ahead of our money, but our values held. My husband, Alan, and I answered a Fresno Bee ad for a religious group without doctrine. Said nothing about heaven, hell, sin, or guilt. But Charles Darwin and Pete Seeger were Unitarians. It sounded right. And I was 18, Episcopalian, going to college and pregnant with our first baby. We met in a borrowed room and stayed and stayed and stayed till Alan died in 2001 and I moved to Vermont in 2012. Always a Unitarian Universalist in my beliefs and my personal journey. We had energetic and talented leaders through 13 years with no ministers. Can you imagine? And we were held together by Sunday brunches, by playgroups, by women's group. For me, it was always the music and choir with congregational singing, plus friendships and my steady vision of a UU church that would be here for anyone who needed us and our terrific church school program. But like all those who stayed, Alan and I rotated through the board, committees, and church school, and at the same time, Alan was national co-chair of the UU Service Committee. We had family, careers, financial responsibilities of our own, as you know, and we burned out. Everybody burned out. Members leave, change, move, die. Our kids grow and move away, but most retain the values of our inquiring religion, social activism, and care for our planet. For that, we done good. We lost our adult son, but our two daughters will be 69 and 70 this year. Shock. And my great-grandchildren are taller than I am. Our first daughter moved and married in rural Virginia with no UU gatherings, but she once brought her 4 children here to her first church, and it was quite the occasion when the minister came down the aisle after the service to meet and greet this little family, this first baby born into the fellowship. Her eldest son stuck out his hand to shake and said, "Now I know why I'm a silent Quaker." Admit it, we do talk. We talk a lot, but we need to keep talking and acting now more than ever. Necesitamos hablar y haga una lucha. And you make that possible with the Reverend Tim. I'll skip your deeds, but I also skip town, bringing my UU faith with me, and yet my heart stays with UU Fresnans who gather in spirit. For you, I am grateful because you are here. Sometimes someone will come and say, "Where have you been all my life?" You make that possible. Thank you, gracias, and amen.